The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, unemployment numbers rising. The question, though, how when the economy and tourist arrivals are what they are at an all-time high? Also tonight, a man charged with raping a 71-year-old woman. We tell you more about that. And if you missed it today, we're going to get into this. I mean, not for the optics of that, but for the real story here. U.S. President Donald Trump hits on immigration hard at the United Nations today, with leaders from around the region and the world sitting in the audience watching very, very closely. We're going to talk about that as well. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you join this evening. Well, let's get right into it. Unemployment is hiking again. It's going up, with more than 1 in 10 in the workforce now out of a job. The newest labor force survey illustrates that young people and women are feeling the impact the most. We get the story from Laurencia Smith and then come back and talk about it.
Unemployment in the Bahamas is climbing again. 10.8% of the workforce is now jobless. That's up from 8.7% in October of 2024, according to the latest labor force survey from the Bahamas National Statistical Institute. We spoke with Peter Gowdy, a director with the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and the National Tripartite Council.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm surprised, but I'm disappointed that our unemployment numbers are this high. And I'm very, very concerned for the youth in our country.
The survey shows that youth unemployment remains a major concern. Some 6,960 young people between 15 and 24 are out of work, split evenly between males and females. The overall youth unemployment rate now stands at 20.9%. 21.7% for young women and 20.3% for young men. Nationally, women ages between 20 to 44 and 45 to 54 are more likely to be unemployed than men in the same age bracket, but men aged 25 to 44 face slightly higher unemployment than women of the same cohort. The report revealed a troubling trend in education. 55% of unemployed women have completed high school, compared to the 61% of unemployed men. Gowdy says that's a harsh reality, one that highlights the need for greater educational opportunities.
And well-educated to compete in the marketplace. And we get so many complaints about work permits, yet we're not graduating enough students to replace those work permits.
According to the survey, the total labor force in the first quarter stood at 240,650, with 121,565 males and 119,085 females. Of a total of 214,725 were employed, but the survey also found that more than 65,000 workers unemployed work part-time but wants more hours. Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
And so that's quite surprising, the latest statistics talking about the rising unemployment numbers. And so the discussion even during the news story a moment ago was how and where these people and what's going on. I mean, we have heard, I think, in excess of 12 million visitors coming in, a number of tourism products and just coming on stream around the nation. I was told just recently, we even interviewed the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce president talking about the fact that that economy there, while a lot needs to come on stream and it's left to be desired, is in a much better place now today. I've spoken with other residents of Grand Bahama who say people now have 1 and 2 jobs. you want them to have one, but 2 jobs. This is what's happening in New Providence. It's people are working, so we want to know. And I'm going to bring in the Hot Topics panel right now to talk about exactly where's this showing up? Where's this joblessness and this rising unemployment showing up? We've heard women and young people, but let's just get into it further. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, BTH contributors, Gabrielle McKinsey Eneas and Glenroy Pratt. Good evening to both of you. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you both here.
Good evening.
Good evening, Bahamas. Good evening, Janique.
Good evening, Glenroy. Were you surprised, first of all, to hear this when it seems as though anybody who wants a job can have access to one?
I quite frankly am not surprised by the rising numbers, particularly among youth unemployment, because I don't believe that our education system is preparing our students for the jobs of today that are available. So we're talking a lot about tourism and jobs in that industry, but those aren't the only jobs that's available now. A lot of human capital is being replaced with artificial intelligence. A lot of things that you need done. We're talking about HVAC, all of these different trade and specialized industries. We don't see them showing up in our education system, but we see the demand for coding and STEM programs, so that's science, technology, mathematics, engineering, programs like that. We see them showing up more prevalent in our society, but the students are not prepared for them.
Are not prepared. And Gabrielle, you bring up an excellent point. I remember just a while back, me and a colleague were comparing about where AI is showing up, even in the Bahamas. In fact, I think there's a restaurant, and perhaps even more now, a fast food restaurant, he was telling me in the Carmichael area, where you are now ordering through a computerized system.
So that's a cashier out of a job. That's a order taker out of a job now. All of these things we have, even in our second largest industry, which is banking and finance. We've seen tellers, banks have been laying off persons offshore, commercial banks. All of them have been sending persons home. They're forcing you now to go to the ABM machines, the automated banking machines.
Yes.
So where you would have seen these young persons coming out of school, working their way through the ranks, even in that industry now, they've been replaced with AI.
So Glenroy, it really seems as though we really must do an overhaul of our education system, without a doubt.
Yeah, obviously that is in fact correct, coupled with the other realities of the scenarios that we have not many opportunities for our young people to venture into based on some of the skill set that some of them may possess. Obviously, there are some areas in this country that we have focused on over the years that has been oversaturated in terms of employment. The reality is we need to create other venues and avenues for which people can find themselves employed. Whereas we also teach opportunities of entrepreneurial skills where people can, rise up and gainfully employ themselves. But there are a lot of other issues as well at play here too, because you also have this competing scenario of one that you mentioned earlier in your introduction, and I don't want to jump the gun, but this migration issue is also a contributing factor to the fact that, listen, when you have a competing salary on a lower end, you have to compete against somebody who's willing to work for $50 versus somebody who knows the job really worth $100. So now you can't compete with that. And so what it is that you have these individuals in some instances living on land that they don't own, but they don't have to pay any rent, they don't have to pay any mortgages, and so on and so forth. So you have these scenarios that contributes to some of the challenges that we face in this country. I mean, we have a lot of things that we need to look at. Obviously, our education needs to be improved upon, and hopefully we can get there. I know we talk about technology. There's a sad reality as well right now that technology is actually taking a hit in some areas, because even with technology, AI is even replacing some of the technological giants. When we had COVID, technological usage was high. But after COVID, people subsided, and the use of all this technology, where the mass production of computers and stuff were taking place, has shrunk a bit, because a lot of people are now forced to go into the work environment, so they don't rely on all these different gadgets and stuff that they once would have relied on at home in order to do work, in order to be in school, and so on and so forth. So a lot of people in the industry are actually losing jobs. If you go and look at some of the Silicon Valley employment, some of those people have been
so
they're
even taking a hit there.
Yeah.
And so, we talk about education, and we know that's a very huge ship to try and turn. It's been talked about for decades to even try and get it going in the direction where it begins to not only meet the needs of a burgeoning economy, but also be to the point and strengthened enough to be able to steer people in different directions. Because had we been better prepared, maybe we could jump on top of these industries that are now coming on stream in the Bahamas and worldwide.
The other problem too, Shanique, is we have relied so much on foreign direct investment to the point that we have not prepared ourselves to be a part of this investment that has been taking place in our country.
No.
We have relied so much on jobs but not investment opportunities where Bahamians can have access to these businesses that are running and making millions of dollars in a given year. When you look at some of these industries that are in this country, you discover that some of the actual entities, the Bahamas is their cash cow via means of the tourism market in some instances. And you'd be like, wow, they have other companies around the world, but the Bahamas seems to be the cash cow. It's the cash cow for those businesses, but not for the Bahamian people. Something is fundamentally wrong with the way we do negotiations and how much the government has in take. I remember some years ago when Cable Bahamas came on stream, the government at the time, under the leadership of Hubert Ingram, decided to have an investment into Cable Bahamas. I think it's some 18% or something along those lines. Whereas the Bahamian public treasury receives some, compensation or monies from that investment. That is where we should have been. Imagine if we had a situation where our tax dollars, and obviously it has to be managed properly, is invested in somebody's businesses that are raking in $200 and $300 million a year, where we could get something off the top of that. Man, listen, we would have been far ahead.
Well, I think we saw that with the port, with the government offering shares into the port development. But I think we need to start to shift and diversify our streams of income in this country. Mm-hmm. I had the chance to visit Aruba about a year ago, and when I saw the amount of industries they had, other than tourism, they producing aloe. I mean, we have a rich agriculture, soil and climate, everything for agriculture. If you go through our history, we produce pineapples. We have thousands,
and we have
millions of dollars in the blue economy.
Because the pineapples are just there to now sell. Or if you're lucky enough to send maybe a batch to Nassau or wherever you send it to sell. I think another thing is we've got to become industrious again, dreamers again, hard workers again, disciplined again as a nation. Because along with things slipping through our fingers in terms of employment or industries that, for example, banking, offshore banking or commercial banking, we too have become less inspired as a nation. How do you do that? Because it isn't the people you elect, It is something that has to be ingrained into the individual that once was to go after that dream.
We have to, again, it starts back with placing those things. We used to celebrate agriculture. We used to celebrate farmers, fishers, the blue economy. There is trillions of dollars out there to be made in the blue economy. When I go to the dock, because I love to get my fresh fish, when I go there on Montague Ramp and I see what these fishermen are raking in, and we have poachers coming into our waters, raking our waters of thousands of pounds of crawfish, lobsters, all of these things. The money is there to be made, but we find that every time we get these industries, we sell them. Bahamians no longer own them. Look at what we did with salt in Anagua. So there is a lot of things that can be industrialized, but when it comes to giving Bahamians ownership, our first go-to is sell it.
Yeah, and I go back to even with this tourism market, right? The tourism market is $1 trillion industry. When you look at sandals and breezes, are they Bahamian brands? No, they're not. They're Jamaican brands in the Bahamas. Do we have any Bahamian brands similar that can be expanded in the international market, where you have some Bahamian brand that when you see this property being advertised, it's a Bahamian-owned property? We don't have that. And why? Because we haven't ingrained in our people the abilities that they have. But then goes back to the point that you made about leadership in terms of who you elect. It also couples with that, though, because you need to have inspirational leaders in our time. And this is where the challenge comes in. We don't have people who can inspire people to be their best and become their brightest and to do the things that they think that they cannot do. Man, listen, we are at a crisis. But we need people who can speak to a young man, to a young woman and say, listen, you have gifts, dreams, and talents within you that you could do certain things. And that they feel so inspired that they go there and they can paint a car just by looking at it, because of how inspired they are.
Yeah.
That is what you need. You need inspirational leadership. And the challenge is we are lacking that as well.
I want to know if you, me, and Bahamians could do that, because listen, our work ethic, let's start right there. Let's just start with the ABCs of this, our work ethic. But we're not going to dwell there further. Listen, excellent points, you all. Again, it's something really to follow up on and see about this rising unemployment, because, again, it's puzzling, quite frankly, to hear the economy is doing excellently in one aspect, and then in another aspect, less people are working? It's, so it's something to really think about. Meanwhile, get this, you all, here's where the issue starts right here. A string of violent incidents at and around the C.H. Reeves Junior High School is raising alarms tonight. In one video, a student is struck with a metal pole. In another, parents of the students turn on each other. The question now, how far will this violence go before it's stopped? Here is Delano Roca, and then we come back and discuss it.
The footage is disturbing, and it's coming from our schools. One viral video shows parents at C.H. Reeves attacking each other during a meeting called to discuss an earlier altercation involving students. The fallout was immediate. The principal moved to ban the parents involved, and 3 people have been arrested. Assistant Commissioner of Police Dr. Chaswell Hanna, who oversees the school division, says the matter is under control.
Parents come on campus creating disturbance. We are going to arrest you and place you before the court. So we've charged 3 parents, okay? And just the protocols are fine. We just need people to adhere to them. Do not come on the school campus as if it's an unsecured environment. It is where we protect our most precious resources, our children.
But the violence didn't stop there. Just 2 miles away, another video shows students in a vicious brawl. One stomping another in the head, and in another moment, a male student striking a female. Hannah confirms the students involved have been taken into custody, and investigations are underway.
Since the reintroduction of the school policing program, we've seen a dramatic decrease in school incidences. So we're going to get 1 or 2 from time to time. That was one of them. Police officers were right there, and we took a number of juveniles in custody. And then this is where our second chance program comes in. Because if we all are honest, from time to time we had a little fist fight or shoving match in school. That doesn't mean you have to lose your rights and privileges for that. So the second chance program, maybe these would be prime candidates for the second chance program. But we have those young persons in custody, and we're going to look at that matter.
In yet another incident, 2 young boys are seen fighting, one assaulted with a dangerous weapon.
We have charged a young male with respect to that matter. Okay, so it's placed before the courts.
Hannah is calling on local businesses to step up, urging stronger security measures to keep students from gathering unsupervised on their premises.
Mall and Marathon, they work with us. They're one of our partners. They have a policy where school students in uniform must be accompanied by a parent or a responsible guardian. So we want to encourage other business establishments to adopt that same policy, because if you allow school students to congregate there, you may be putting your business at risk. We're going to be there to support you and try to protect your business, but we want you to work with us so we can keep everybody safe.
While police and school officials are cracking down, the community is left grappling with a bigger question: how to break the cycle of violence before it claims more young lives. Delano Roca, Eyewitness News.
It really is quite disturbing. We will talk about that when we come back. This is Beyond the Headlines. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started this evening. More in a moment.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is now City of Hope, creating one of the leading cancer care and research networks from coast to coast, providing more of what you need. More locations means more care closer to home. More specialists means more expertise. More research means more breakthroughs. More advancements means more treatment options. And more options means more hope. Call now to get more of the care you need.
Ever feel like you're missing your own life because you're constantly running off to the bathroom? Do bladder leaks or pelvic discomfort have you up at night and affect your confidence in everyday life? Those days are over. At Frequency Vitality Center, we offer a solution. Completely painless, fully clothed with no downtime. Perfect for men and women of any age, we help strengthen the pelvic floor muscles while you sit comfortably, improving bladder control, decreasing night waking, and much more. Strengthen your foundation and restore your confidence.
Sting Junkanoo Group is celebrating 25 years of music, and you're invited to the greatest show ever. Counting down the years, performing hit song after hit song. Stevie S, Colin McDonald, KB, Dyson Knight, and D-Mark. Saturday, November 1st at the Farm Marshall Road, 8 p.m. until. Tickets can be purchased online at www.bahamasettickets.com for your skybox or to be a food vendor. Call 424-6433, 477-0191. Sponsored by ZNS, Island Luck TV, The Farm, Gatorade Today & Co. Limited, Chris Minute, and Associates.
At the Water and Sewage Corporation, safety and convenience are our top priorities. However, our meter readers face challenges that can make their job difficult. Locked gates to guard dogs sometimes leads to missed readings and estimated bills, which can be frustrating for you and us. That's why we're upgrading to digital meters. They bring safety, accuracy, and convenience to homes across the Bahamas. We can streamline data collection, reduce on-site visits, and provide more accurate bills with no more estimates. Digital meters also help detect leaks early, saving you from costly bills and reducing water waste. Soon, a user-friendly app will let you track your water usage, manage bills, and stay informed, all at your fingertips. Over the next year, we're rolling out digital meters nationwide, transforming how we serve you with a safer and cost-efficient water supply. To learn about our digital meters, visit our website or call us today. And don't forget to update your information at any of our locations.
I feel good when you're wrapped up in my arms, dancing to a reggae song. Feel good, feel good. I feel good, 'cause your perfume isn't loud, and only I can talk about. Feel good, feel good. You feel like velvet rubbing over my skin, and when your hair...
Beyond the Headlines is now introducing powerful TV advertising opportunities made just for you. Choose our television ad package, 20 30-second ads for $2,000 or 20 60-second ads for $2,500 plus VAT. Prefer flexibility? Go a la carte. Just $150 for a 30-second ad or $200 for a 60-second ad. Step into the spotlight with our interview package. 1 15-minute interview for $500 or 4 for $15 per month. Or bring Beyond the Headlines directly to you with our live on location package, only $2,600 plus VAT. For more information, contact our sales agent at 242-466-6173.
This segment is brought to you by EV Motors Fleet Sales Division. For 2026 commercial vehicles, call 821-2403 today.
Listen, you all would just really need to have in fact, we need to have a live studio audience here on Beyond the Headlines. I tell you that during the breaks is when the real show happens. Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you all here. Of course, you know, just before the break, we talked about a story where there's violence, mounting violence at the campus of C.H. Reeves Junior High. It's not the only campus, but in this instance, we have the footage to show and to back it up. And we saw the Assistant Commissioner of Police, Cresswell Hannah, speak about it. And so it's good to have him talk about it and address it. But I want to bring Gabrielle and Glenroy back in to talk about how troubling it is seeing those videos, and then to see the parents in the middle of the fights setting no example at all. This is where we talked about unemployment at the beginning and the fact that many Bahamians have been left behind in the economies that are now today's economies and can't compete. That is a part of the reason.
Very unfortunate when cool heads should prevail in a meeting that's literally about your children being involved in physical altercations. You, the parents, then become involved in the same altercations in front of those very children, setting no example. So that can tell you at at the home, there's this little TikTok, Shanique, that goes, when I send you to school, what you could do, teach them how to block. If they hit you, you hit them back. So that's literally the pattern that we see now being presented by parents. Listen, you go to school and you don't take no crap from nobody and stand on business.
Wow, yeah, that's powerful stuff. I mean, I had a grandmother. She was very firm. She said, "You don't pick no trouble, but you don't back down from them." You know, and that's the mantra I live in. But the challenge, though, we have an angry society. I mean, and when you look around, people are just blatantly angry. They're angry at every single thing, and so you have trigger points. And sometimes it could be your children, it can be your job. And we see it manifested in these scenarios. When you have unemployment, talking about unemployment among our women, and that's who was fighting, I guess, and amongst our young people, you have scenarios that creates frustration. And so when you have these things that happen, these are like the straw that breaks the camel's back. And sometimes it manifests itself in environments that it should not manifest. Does it give excuse to it? No, it shouldn't happen. People should be responsible. They should be punished for what they did. But the reality of it is we need to take a look at how much people are in this country that are facing so many challenges and the anger level. A lot of people are walking around frustrated as hell in this country.
Listen to me, Bahamians being frustrated is no reason to act like the animals on the farm. It is quite disturbing, it's disgusting. And again, the reason why the youth behave and do the things they do is because the examples are before them each day, their parents. Meanwhile, a 62-year-old man finds himself behind bars tonight after prosecutors say he raped and indecently assaulted a 71-year-old woman. It is alleged that Austin Williams committed the crimes on September 8th, right here in New Providence. He was not required to enter a plea to the charges and was denied bail. Austin Williams returns to court on January 20th, that's next year, for the presentation of the voluntary bill of indictment. Until then, he will be held on remand at the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services. Your thoughts about Austin Williams?
I wonder if we could put these guys somewhere down in Inagua or Long Island.
No, not good Inagua.
No, hold on. Where
Okay,
you
well,
have
my Inaguans scary.
in an open cell, right? Where you have, I don't know if you ever feel those mosquitoes and sandflies in Inagua.
Maybe on Andros.
Or one of those islands.
Yes, no.
And
That's
they don't need to have any clothing on. Just keep them there, and until their case comes
good,
up.
Glenroy. Sounds really good.
But we really need to stop playing. I mean, and I'm glad I seen where there was another situation, unfortunately, where a young female was violated by this so-called deacon fella. Obviously, the church has come against him and saying that he was always not credible, and the sentencing that he received. For far too long in this country, we have played, around with sentencing individuals for sexual violence and sexual assaults that has happened among young people, our elder. We need to take it more seriously, and I'd like to see more of those stuff in terms of sentencing increase. But we also look at the other side of this. There's a lot of molestation and incest and all this other stuff that is happening in our country. And we really need to look at some of the things that we need to do to address those issues and to try to prevent them from happening. There are a lot of people, because they say hurt people. And so we need to figure out a way that people can get the kind of help that they need. And if you have an offender that is obviously not going to be repentant of their behavior, lock their backside up. That's my view.
Yeah, Glenn, I agree with you on your sentiments, but I feel like we're in a country where the mental health of these people continue to deteriorate. You don't see signs until these actions happen, or are we ignoring the signs? And this is becoming increasingly more and more popular on the daily. We also saw on the news where 180 victims have been reported by the Crisis Center in an 11-month span for sexual assault between as low as 2 years old.
Wow.
2 years old, a baby. Can you imagine that? And then you talk about how angry people are. I feel like this is outrageous. And does the punishment match the crime? Because how can you even, our elderly, the most vulnerable amongst us are 2-year-old. How can you see someone violating them and just say, oh, you just go there for 5 years and we feed you, house you, all of this stuff. I ask the question again, when is the worst of the worst going to occur? When is a real example going to be made of these vicious, nasty, dirty, low down dogs? Is too good of a word to associate them with. They're violating our elderly, they're violating our youth, they are violating the future and the past of this nation. When is the worst of the worst going to be?
We've got to determine that and not leave that to men who really don't quite understand the thought patterns and the makeup of a nation like the Bahamas or even the region. We cannot leave it to them over there in the United Kingdom. We've got to determine that and set our laws accordingly. Gabrielle and Glenroy, new developments tonight in the death of 6-year-old Vernal Zion Williams. As records reportedly prove, the school, you all remember what happened last Friday afternoon, unfortunately, when the young boy was on a swing. Well, he unfortunately lost his life. Turns out the school was not registered. We get the story from Linton Ritchie Jr., and then we come back and talk about it.
The government needs to change that. I feel like where we place our children, the government definitely should have a say on whether the school should be allowed to open.
Eyewitness News uncovering an updated list on the website of the National Accreditation and Equivalency Council of the Bahamas, dated the 12th of September 2025, where schools across the Bahamas are listed as approved. Caring Hands Academy, not one of them, despite the mandated law. It's alleged that the institution does have a business license under the Grand Bahama Port Authority, but that does not mean they should not be accredited through NACOB. The institution under a microscope after 6-year-old Vernal Zion Williams, a second-grade student, died when he was reportedly occupying a swing set which allegedly collapsed. In a statement from the Ministry of Education, Primary Liaison Officer with NACOB, Permanent Secretary Lorraine Simonet Ambrister, outlined, quote, once an institution applies with NACOB to be regulated, on-site inspections with respect to physical resources are conducted as a part of an institution's pre-registration and its renewal processes. NACOB recently releasing a statement urging parents and guardians to verify schools' oral learning institutions are registered and regulated under the council. Education officials backing NACOB, explaining that the policy reads, all primary, secondary, and tertiary education institutions are required to engage in a rigorous process, including the review of all internal systems and resources, including staffing and physical resources. Williams' family says, in their view, this should be the way forward.
It should be closed until investigations is done. That is clearly not a safe environment for anyone to send their toddlers or young children to.
Yeah, let's come back and talk about this, you all, because it's quite troubling to see that, you know, in a school that has younger kids, because that obviously goes from preschool to, I think, around the first or second grades, and so it's a school that even has younger kids than the 6-year-old. We saw that right there. There's no way that even that rusted metal type swing should be on a school playground, and then it should be bolted. Who does the inspection? So it's not even, let's start at the beginning. It's not registered. Is this surprising to you all? I remember last week when we talked about this, we talked about the fact that these little things popping up all over the place, calling themselves preschools and daycares and all the rest of it. And nobody know they're there, but the 1 or 2 parents who facilitate. Parents, you've got to be more discerning. You've got to be. Gabrielle and Glenroy, your thoughts on now after this has happened, unfortunately, to discover that this school is not registered. I imagine they just woke up one day and figured they could open this up, have a little couple swings on the playground or so-called playground, and go from there.
Firstly, condolences to the grieving family. I am certain it is not easy to lose such a child at such a young age. So I want to send out my thoughts and prayers with the family. Now, to the issue of the school, they are all over. I think that is prevalent across the Bahamas. Preschools, people just want somewhere that they feel is okay enough within their budget that can watch their children. I think the theme tonight has been People are angry. People are underpaid, undervalued. They are trying to stretch their bucks. So a lot of blame may be casted and say, well, the parents, you didn't do enough investigations. I'm always weary of schools as well that don't let you in, let parents in, and there's no site where you can actually see the premises and tour and experience where your child is going to be. That's the first red flag.
Was that said? Was that stated that they didn't allow parents on campus or beyond the gate?
Well, I'm not certain if it's the case with this school, but a lot of the schools, especially post-COVID, has a policy where you just drop them off and no other person can go beyond the gate from COVID-19. So that's been the policy. But the funny thing is, both NACOB and the Ministry of Education was quick to say, this is not a school that comes under our purview. It's not a government school, but I don't think that's the issue. You sit over oversight of all.
How is it open for business?
All of these schools. You are the body
who regulates it.
That regulates it. So in your site, in your traversing.
Where's the maintenance of this playground equipment?
Yes, in your traversing of the island. Oftentimes we drive past these places and nobody even thinks aside. I wonder if they registered, they have a business license. We government officials drive past places all the time that just pop up on the street and running business, running advertisement, registrations open. You see it, but nobody thought to say that this moment would come. And unfortunately, it took the life of a 6-year-old to discover this.
Yeah, that's really sad, and I stand also to send condolences to the family. There's so many questions and so many things that need to be looked at. Was this a process where they were waiting for them to be approved as a legit school? We don't know that either. There's so many different things that we see in this country that seems to be, going through the cracks in a way that it harms the public at large. And obviously, due diligence on the minister's part. There is also a constituency that this particular school is in, and there's a member of parliament for that constituency. This also gives an opportunity, whilst we may have the opportunity to cast the blame, there's an opportunity now for every member of parliament, check your businesses in your constituency,
right.
See if they're legitimately operating, check the schools, see if they're legitimately operating. If they're not legitimately operating, but they are providing a service, see how best you could assist them in getting the necessary things that is needed. And that's the kind of holistic mindset that we need to ensure that members of parliament have who represent us, but not only just putting it solely on them, because obviously their job scope is wide. The reality is
Glenn
parenting
Roy,
as well.
Absolutely, because I want to say the people we elect, if they're going to babysit us, then when are they going to go and govern and make laws that benefit us?
Well,
and so we've got to grow up, man. I mean, we're over 50 years old. As a nation, so grow up and do things right. We too, you in the nation of shortcuts.
Yeah, well, that's true too. But keep in mind they are legislators, so they should be ensuring that laws are being adhered to. I mean, and so when they go through a constituency and see things that are operating, because let's make no mistake, the same way a school could be operating without the necessary registration. There are liquor stores that are operating the same way. That. There are gambling houses probably still operating the same way. There are other things that are happening in our communities that are operating in the same fashion, the illegal mechanics without any kind of, licensing. So there are a lot of things.
As long as it benefits us though, Glenn Roy, it's all good.
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone, because
right.
when you go now and uproot some of these things, and we're a connected and intertwined society, you don't know who owns that school, you don't know who owns this business over here. So when you start to tread in these waters, they may become muddy and the outcome may not be as favorable as we think.
Yeah, I mean, you have slum landlords who actually have connections and people can't live in decent environments. And it's ironic that the minister would have mentioned the fact that it was a private institution. The reality is some of our public schools still in such conditions that is not conducive for learning.
Don't have feminine hygiene products.
You have mold in some of the classrooms. You have teachers having to sweat their backside off because they don't have proper ventilation in the classes. You have environments that are not conducive. You got a bunch of stuff hanging around where children could hurt themselves. I mean, we have to be realistic and have to approach this whole thing with a fixable mindset. And the way we see ourselves, because bet your bottom dollar, some of these ministers and some of these individuals who are responsible for some of these institutions wouldn't send their children to some of these places. And if these places are not representing what they want for themselves, then it should not be in the hands of the Bahamian people. We need to demand more and expect more.
Well, this week, Gabrielle and Glenroy, I'm sure you both have been paying attention. Leaders from around the world and the region are in New York to debate and pass resolutions on the biggest issues facing the planet. Well, today, U.S. President Donald Trump, during his address at the United Nations gathering, spoke on an emotive topic that the Bahamas and the region, as well as the rest of the world, really are grappling with. It's the matter of illegal immigration. Take a look.
Other countries are in the exact same situation with immigration. It's destroying your country, and you have to do something about it. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. What took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them.
Gabrielle and Glenroy, you heard, of course, that his speech lasted for about an hour and he went on various topics. But this right there, that was really important to us, and that is the matter of illegal immigration. We see what we're in the middle of. The discussion, of course, has really sort of emerged again, given this political season. But your thoughts on the United States. We saw some stuff coming out of Turks and Caicos as well, but the United States, and it's doubling down on its immigration policy or illegal immigration policy that this president in particular, and he even saw it fit to bring it to the UN and talk about in front of world leaders, but that he is doing.
Well, Trump made a very strong lecture to the United Nations leaders, and I don't think anyone wanted to go against him in that. But I think the Bahamas can take from it. Trump made a declaration to all countries present that you must protect your sovereignty. That's what I took away from it. Despite the fact that the escalator wasn't working, it stopped midway, and the teleprompter didn't work for
even
him.
in the U.S., there are issues. Listen.
Even because he didn't build the United Nations. Y'all could have had marble floors.
That's what it is.
Y'all could have had marble floors, but y'all didn't go with him.
And gold handrails. Yes,
gold handrails.
Mahogany side.
But he made a strong appeal, especially for the Bahamas. Listen, protect your sovereignty. Do what you have to do. And at the end of that speech, he said something very important. I work with people that I like. He said to Brazil, he said, I like Brazil, so we are going to work with you. I want to ask the question tonight. Does Trump in America still like the Bahamas? Because we obviously need help in this immigration matter. Does the Americans feel obligated to help the Bahamas in clearing this up?
Powerful stuff. Yeah, I mean, when we talk about immigration matters, people start to blame you and talk about all this fact that you're xenophobic and all this. But the reality is, it has a challenge that is creating in the country where schools are finding itself with the teachers not able to speak the language, and that students are finding difficulty in learning. There are frustration from the student because they don't speak the English language. Now they are angry and upset, and it causes another situation. We have a challenge with the unemployment, where some of the jobs that are being held by persons who probably came in illegally and somehow obtained papers, and we have that to investigate. We have so many issues as it relates to this immigration issue, especially housing, where people are living on land that they did not own and they don't pay taxes on, and they can amass wealth by being there. There's so many issues that needs to be addressed from this illegal migration issue. And the reality of it is, as a people, we agree with that stance, and we really need to have a focused agenda on it.
Absolutely. I thank you very much, Gabrielle and Glenroy, certainly for wonderful, insightful perspectives and analysis on these stories that we brought to you this evening. But don't go anywhere, because when we come back, there is a portion of the public service who say, wait a minute, how come we have been absolutely wiped out of the equation? We're going to speak with the president of BAMU after this break. Stay close.
Fly fishing for me is kind of a way of life. My father was one of the pioneers that started the fly fishing industry.
I grew up around the industry, but it was mostly spin fishing until the invention of the fly. that changed the whole fly fishing industry as we know it today.
Well, fly fishing, in my opinion, is an art form that subscribes to artificially inducing a fish to take a lure.
It's fishing, but it's more like hunting than anything else.
So it is hunting, one aspect of it is, and the second of it is creating a lure that you are imitating that is of the environment.
You're actually stimulating the bite by them visually seeing the actual lure that you're sending to them.
Crazy Charlie is the fly that revolutionized, as we know, the saltwater fly fishing industry. It was invented by my father. He recalls seeing the bonefish chasing a little bait fish called a minnow. He took a couple chicken feathers and some bead eyes of a military tag, and that was the beginning of the advancement of saltwater fly fishing industry on the flats as we know it today. The importance of that fly allow you to be able to fish for bonefish in various depths of water.
Captain Rupert Lead, my dad, who's also a pioneer in the industry, his fly was called the gotcha fly, and it emulates two things: the minnows, which is a small bait fish, and also a shrimp pattern. See, there's so many legends that I'm now standing on. Percy Darville, Ivan Nemo, who would have passed, Raymond Mackey, you've got Sidney Nemore, Carl Moxie. These guys were filled with knowledge. They were self-imposed scientists. They saw these fish act in a certain way, and they know how to target them on specific tides. I feel extremely proud to carry the baton on, knowing that I can actually teach other youngsters how to carry the mantra, and they themselves can pass it on to other generations.
It's me, Wednesday Addams. Your life just took a dark turn. I regret to inform you that I have devised the meal of misfortune with Wendy's. It's pure torture for your taste buds, with 4 nightmarish dips of dread. Don't waste my time asking which ones you'll get. You must surrender to your fate. Enjoy the anguish.
Numbers, $1 million. Every 3 days, a number is revealed. Act fast, your million is waiting.
Crack that code when $1 million clear.
Crack the code before the last lock clicks shut. Get ready to join the winner's circle, only at islandluck.com.
Crack the code and win $1 million.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
Beyond the Headlines is now introducing powerful TV advertising opportunities made just for you. Choose our television ad package, 20-30-second ads for $2,000. or 20 60-second ads for $2,500 plus VAT. Prefer flexibility? Go a la carte. Just $150 for a 30-second ad or $200 for a 60-second ad. Step into the spotlight with our interview package. One 15-minute interview for $500 or 4 for $15 per month. Or bring Beyond the Headlines directly to you with our live on location package, only $2,600 plus VAT. For more information, contact our sales agent at 242-466-6173.
This segment is brought to you by EV Motors Fleet Sales Division. For 2026 commercial vehicles, call 821-2403 today.
Welcome back. Justin, if you don't stop catching me off guard, especially when I have this president here who can't be quiet. Listen, welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. You all saw, of course, what's been happening since the weekend into all of yesterday, really. And that is the salary review of the public service. And while this union president has no issue with that, he said, where do his members fall in? Because as far as he was officially informed, they don't exist in the public service. Therefore, no, not one of his members or him will receive this salary adjustment. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, the president of BEMU, Bahamas Educational Managerial Union, Stephen McPhee. Good evening to you. It's good to have you here.
Good evening, Shanique.
What do you mean you all aren't included in this salary review?
Yeah, we've been waiting to try and find out exactly what is going on. And after listening to the Minister of Labor and Public Service, we've been informed, it's out there, at least on 2 reports, that this was done at the hands of the Prime Minister and his permanent secretary. They've somehow removed us out of the public service by saying that we're not managers, we're not middle managers, we're not above middle managers, nor are we line staff. And so we're asking Mr. Prime Minister, could you please tell us where do we fit in the whole business of the public service? Because the Prime Minister would have noted that these salary increases and this review was the result of cost of living increase and inflation. I'm saying at the end of the day, if we are civil servants, then we too have to live. And we cannot understand how those in the public service, in accordance with the salary scale book, who are either in rank with us in the Ministry and Department of Education or above us, and in some cases those below us, would have received sums of some $4,000 in back pay and then increases of over $400 a month. But to the members of BEMU, who are the gatekeepers, managers, and supervisors of the education.
Meaning your members are the principals, the vice principals.
Assistant director of education, district superintendents,
and all of this whole grouping of people was overlooked.
500 persons, according to Minister of Labor and Public Service. The Prime Minister, in his capacity of Minister of Finance, along with his permanent secretary, has just wiped us out of the public service.
We'll talk about the mindset of your members who have been toiling, many of them, for quite a number of years. This is a career for them. And to hear that, listen, applauding even the salary overview that's much needed and welcomed, but only to find out, no, not y'all.
Yeah, and the thing is, we've been listening to the reports, and a lot of the things I think need to be fact-checked. I'm hearing that during the last salary increase, that these grouping of public servants did not receive such benefits. I could tell you, I know for a fact, permanent secretaries, during the period of 22-24, salaries might have increased by salary and benefits of some must be $40,000. So why are permanent secretaries getting it? But what bothers me more is it appears that the public service now has been deemed some cheap petty shop. The rules that govern the public service no longer exist. We're hearing these terms like middle managers and the rest. They don't even exist in any regulation.
It's not a title in the public service.
It isn't. In the public service, we're all ranked by categories. So if you're a principal, you're a principal. If you're permanent secretary, you're permanent secretary. Now we use the term loosely, executive managers and senior managers. But Shanique, more shockingly, I will tell you, BEMU membership is the only grouping of public servants who, in its registered industrial agreement, are referred to as managers in the ministry and the Department of Education. So if my salary as a principal is higher than an FAS, but lower than a PS, then how am I not in middle management? So we're somewhat lost, and we're asking the Prime Minister, apparently, who would have made this decision, reportedly along with his permanent secretary and some independent body who did a salary review.
Yeah, I heard it's
Who is this body? What
I heard
would
it's
they
an
pay?
independent, like, accounting firm.
Yeah, but are they aware of the rules that govern the public service?
Well, they were only doing the review. It's the people that you mentioned that now must look again, have a second look at your members.
Well, and then here's what they've done that is almost not only illegal but criminal. You've said to a group of principals, vice principal, assistant directors, district superintendents, district education officers, subject secretaries, assistant directors that, hey, listen up. In the past, in accordance with this that governs the public service, doesn't belong to any minister, whether it's finance or any permanent secretary. We are paying our public officers and servants in way of responsibility and by way of criteria in terms of qualifications. And you have now taken this group out of the public service. I don't know where you've placed them, but then you've proceeded to move others above. We know the practice is if you give the teachers $2, you have to give everybody up $2 so it's consistent. So you've now just said to us that our teaching certificate, our associate degree, our bachelor's degree, our master's degree, and in some cases PhD means nothing. And you're wondering why nobody cares about a national average. Because you're not paid to be educated in this country.
So your members who are really the managers on any campus are now demoralized.
Demoralized, not demoralized. If the Prime Minister say this is to deal with the inflation and the cost of living, the Prime Minister have said to these 500 persons who manages the education system, we're not concerned about your living.
I understand there was a meeting last week. Were you in attendance?
Never been invited.
Oh, you all weren't invited in anything?
No, we don't be invited to any meetings. We've even asked our PS what's going on, and it's, well, we don't know. The Minister of Labour and Public Service, who is our employer, our boss, says to us on national TV, well, I don't have anything to do with it. It's the Minister of Finance and his PS. So that's who we have to ask. We're saying, how if you are the representative of our employer, how do you send us to the Minister of Finance, the Prime Minister, and this PS? We've heard nothing. Everything we've heard is by way of Sunday night, something going around, and then other than that, in the House of Assembly, no one has said a word to us.
Now,
so if we're not public officers and servants, then what are we?
Have you tried to reach out to the OPM and the Ministry of Finance?
Well, at this point, we just got the news on Sunday, Shanique, and I'm saying as much as I know everybody traveling to international conference and events. So, I mean, I'd be kind of hypocritical to try and call the Minister of Finance at this point. He hanging with Trump.
What's your next step? Because obviously this isn't something you're prepared to just sit and accept.
No, we can't, because we have families too, Mr. Prime Minister. And I don't know if this is backlash for us standing up for what is our right, but we're going to say to you, Mr. Prime Minister, with the greatest level of respect, and your permanent secretary, and whoever this independent creatures who did the salary review, that we too are public officers, we are managers and supervisors, and I'm saying, sir, if we cannot get our things, then in the words of Simon Wilson, please do meet us outside. Because we cannot and we will not continue.
See, it's a sign like you need to, square up. Just me saying that.
No, park up.
Park up?
Park up and let those who are managers and supervisors manage and supervise and lead the education system.
Yeah. Listen, we're going to continue to follow this. We will know later in this week if anything develops. Certainly next week, President McPhee and I, Minister Pia Global Role. I know she can be like, what's she calling my name for? Minister Pia Glover, Simon Wilson, Michael Halkitis, anyone who was involved with this and working on this. Certainly, I think you need to speak with this union president, and we will follow up and see exactly if you got some sort of resolve in this matter. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
And you know, next time, of course, you will have more time on the show.
You told me that the last time.
Don't come for this host. I the OPM. Don't play with me.
Were you a part of that review?
Don't give him nothing. Listen, I thank you all so much. Of course, at the top of tonight's show, I had my Hot Topics panelists, BTH contributors, Gabrielle Enius and Glenroy Pratt. And of course, right here, same feisty one time, but was I a part of the review? Yes, I was. Thank you very much, President McPhee, President of BEMU. Thank you so much. And I want to say a big thank you to all of you for tuning in this evening. Certainly enjoyed having you along. And I look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.